Hopefully we'll finish what we started last time, or we've been in the last 2 weeks about the Milchamos. We're talking about the Milchamos of the two big fish, right? The male and the female. Okay, so I think it is 8:30 officially. Okay, so let's just review for a minute or two. Because so we were talking about the Groz Pshat in this war between the two Taninim, and the two Taninim are according to the Gra, they're the Zocher and the Nekeva of the Tzad Hara. That was what we were discussing last week. Okay. Okay, and we discussed more in theoretical terms. What is the function of the Zocher, the function of the Nekeva? Right? The Zocher is the Tzura, the Nekeva is the Chomer, and we discussed that the Chomer, the Tzura Hara, there's a Tzura of Ra that wants to make things, bring a Sad Hara into the world, and then there's a Chomer of Ra, which is Mekabel any Tzura, and therefore it really has no Tzura whatsoever. And at the end we saw that, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? So, because he saw that if these two Taninim, we said the Livyatan, would actually succeed in mating and reproducing, so then there would be a destruction of the world. And now we're going to get a little bit more into that, exactly what that means. But what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? So that was the title of the section Stan Kuf Ayin Hey, Sireset HaZachar V'Haraget HaNekeva. Right? He castrated the male and killed the female. Okay, that was all to set us up for this section today. Today's section today, we're going to talk about, well, how are we going to translate this into terms that are this worldly, real worldly? Okay, again, not also theoretically, but at least something that we can relate to at a more real level. And this is going to come down to Yishmael and Esav. Now, remember, for a couple of a month or two ago, I don't remember, but we had shiurim on Yishmael and Esav and what they represented, right? We had, right, on page, we had all the way where we're talking about the Rome and Edom and Paras, and all those shiurim that we had in the previous section. So if you look on page, for instance, I went back and saw that on page Shin Nun Hey, all the way towards the end of the book, we talked about Paras and Romi, the Yishmael and Esav, and we talked about Yishmael, we talked about Esav, we talked about Yishmael is Koach of Emunah, Esav is Koach of Teva, like Ayin Sham, we're not going to go over that again, but Romi, which was Esav, was the Koach of destruction, and Paras was more of the Koach of building, okay, the things that we discussed back then. Okay, now we're going to discuss Ishmael and Esav again. And in the book it comes first. We're going to discuss Ishmael and Esav again, but from a different point of view. But ultimately, I think that we can put things together and see how things fit, how the two perspectives fit together. But again, obviously, when Rav Moshe was giving the Shurim, there was a big gap in time between them. Right? This is the Shurim, much earlier set of Shurim. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. Milchamot Yishmael ve'Esav. Hataninim.
I'm sorry, what page are we on?
Kuf Ayin Vav. Okay, Hataninim, Esav, Yishmael. Okay, these are the two Taninim. One's male, one's female, and the history of Esav and Yishmael parallels the story of the Taninim that we had learned about last week. Let's see what's going on. V'Agura Mevaer, right? And this is all included in the Graz beer of what this Milchama is between these two Taninim, between these two great fish. Shekineged HaKochot Halalu Shebebriya Hanikraim Taninim, corresponding to these two kochos in the world, which are called Taninim, Yeshnam B'Olam Shtei Umot Klaliot. There are two Kloliot nations, and that's what we said. We spoke about this in the last Shurim about Esav and Yishmael, that we said that the 70 nations, there's 35 in the camp of Esav and 35 in the camp of Yishmael. But so Esav and Yishmael are the two nations that are Klali. They encompass all of the other 70 nations, all the other 68 nations, because they're the Umot Klaliot. Umatzino. So he says, She'esav shayach lekav hasmol, v'Yishmael shayach lekav hachesed. The kav hasmol is the chad of gvura, right? In other words, we have chesed on one side, we have gvura on the other side. So what's called, the right side is called chesed, the left side is called, the left side is called, left side is called gvura, okay? So it says Esav shayach lekav hasmol, v'Yishmael shayach lekav hachesed. V'klashon hakatuv, vayhi li shor v'chamor. Yaakov Avinu was speaking, and he says, "I had shor v'chamor shekoi al Esav v'Yishmael." So the word shor refers to, as we will see, refers to Esav, and the word chamor refers to Yishmael. Ba'ofen she'esav b'no shel Yitzchak hu tzad hazachar shebetzad hara. So as we said, in the tzad hara, there's a zachar and there's a nekeva. So the zachar of the tzad hara is Esav. He's the son of Yitzchak. So Yitzchak is the koach of gvura, right? So which is a more masculine trait, and so therefore the gvura is and so Esav is the offspring of Yitzchak, right? The psolet of Yitzchak is what didn't turn out right in Yitzchak's descendants, progeny. So he is the zochar. He inherits the zochar aspect, the gvura aspect, but he's on the tzadara. Shehu sholet bekoach hagvura v'ha'esh. B'chinat v'ra, right? He has the koach of gvura, the esh, the destructive, the burning. That's where Esav comes in. B'mechinat v'rav tfuot b'koach shor. Pasuk HaMishlei says the koach of the shore that produces the tvuot. The shore is koach. The shore produces. The shore gets things done, right? So the tzad hara of that is Esav. Yishmael ben Avraham psolet chesed. Avraham was the tzad chesed, so therefore his psolet is Yishmael. Yishmael is when you take chesed in the wrong direction, right? And that's the nekeva, right? Hu b'bchinat shvu lachem po im hachamor, because in the pasuk about the Akedah, what does Avram say to his Ne'arim? Who is our Ne'arim? So one of them is Yishmael. When he takes Yitzchak to the Akedah, so he says to the Ne'arim, Shvu lachem po im hachamor, right? You sit here with the donkey, and Chazal Darshan Am Hadom Lechamor, right? That you guys that Yishmael is Dom Lechamor. Utchanata shor sheyesh lo tzura mishalo. The shore is something which has a tzura, his own tzura. That's why when the Torah talks about a goring ox, a shore, right? Because that's a fighting animal is the shore is a fighting animal, right? People have bullfights, right? It's not by accident that people who want to fight with animals fight with bulls, right? That's the animal that is the koach of fighting, of milchama, and so therefore that koach wants to eliminate other things around it because it wants to make its imprint, make sure that it's unique and its individual imprint, right? Its exclusive imprint on things. Right? Chamor, the word chamor and chomer obviously are related. So the chamor is the example, is the paradigm of what chomer is. Hamuchan lekabel kol tzura. And a chamor, right, is makabel kol tzura v'lachein hu kanua. And that's why he's very submissive, right? The nature of a donkey is ve'afshar lasot et ma sherotzim. Right? You could do with it what you want. right? You can load it with burdens, with this, and with whatever you want, and the donkey will comply. The donkey will submit to what you want. So now, Rav Moshe is pointing out that the analogy isn't perfect. Yishmael is not the type to be submissive. He says, in what aspect? Because he says the concept, the title that the Torah gives Yishmael is Pera Adam. So Pera Adam means he's wild. Pera Adam means that he's right. Porek my love called Osir Tzura. Because you can't get him to be any specific one way. Right? He's all over the place. Yado Bakol Yad Kol Bo. He's all over the place. He's going to be the person who doesn't have a tzura. So that's where Moshe is setting up for us the two paradigms. There is the shor, which is the shor b'chamor. There's the tzura and the chomer. That's Esav, who is the ra on the side of the zachar of the ra, and we have Yishmael, who is the nekeva of the ra. And these are the two forces that exist in the world. And now what happens? So there's a very, very significant pasuk, right, which we're going to see in the next page, right? Very significant pasuk, because the pasuk gives away the ultimate goal and the ultimate purpose of what Yishmael and Esau are trying to do in this world. What's their goal? What's their agenda? V'alpizeh, mevayir agros pasuk, vayelech Esau el Yishmael, vayikach es machalas bas Yishmael ben Avram. Achos nevoyos al nashav lo leisha. This is at the end of Parshas. This is the end of Parshas Toldos. When so he said. So what this pasuk, as we said, is talking about when Yaakov got the bracha. So what happened? What was the reaction? So it says that Esav went to Yishmael to make a shidduch. Right? Vayikach es machalas bas Yishmael. Esav married. Right? Esav was the son-in-law. Yishmael was the father-in-law, and Esav married the daughter of Yishmael. But then it's interesting. It says achos nevoyos, and Rashi, and we'll see Rashi's comment in a minute. That she was the sister of Nevoyos. Nevoyos was the son of Yishmael. The Isa al Zeb Gemara, and the Gemara says, Mimashma shenemar bas Yishmael. If it already told us that that Machalas was the daughter of Yishmael, Eini yodea she'achos Nevoyos. Don't I know that she is the sister of Nevoyos? Melamed. So why does the Torah talk about this? As we mentioned that she's the sister of Nevoyos. Shekitsha Yishmael umeis. Yishmael, right, was the father of, right, and he was Makadisher. He accepted the Kedushin, and then he died. V'hisia Nevoyos achia. And so the actual Nesuin, the actual marriage, was done by her brother Nevoyos. Dahainu. Also Perek ba Esav Yizdavek im Yishmael. That's what Esav wanted. He wanted to make a shidduch with Yishmael. VeHaKadosh Baruch Hu Horag es Yishmael. This was the interesting thing. Right? Why did he die? HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed Yishmael. Mipnei shehu keneged hanekeva. Right? Because Yishmael is the nekeva of the two fish. And just like it says, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed the nekeva. Besod tziras es hazocher v'horag hanekeva. Right? That he was Messiah's the Zohar, and he killed the Nekeva. In other words, part of the plan is that Yishmael had to go. Yishmael, right? He couldn't be there to consummate the shidduch. The Olmolein is cooking zeh because if the shidduch would have happened, machrivin kol olam kulo, then the whole world would have been destroyed. V'habir bazehu. What's the explanation? What was his purpose? His purpose was to fight against Yaakov. Mishum sheYaakov hu hatzuras ha'adam hamitit b'kan ba'olam. Right? Yaakov is, right, the tzuras ha'adam hamitit. This is what a person is supposed to look like. Right? A person is, right, this is what God created the world. He created the world for the sake of Yaakov Avinu, B'shvil Yisrael. As it says in the Gemara, Shufrei de Yaakov Avinu means Shufrei de Adam Arishon. Right? The beauty of Yaakov Avinu is like the beauty of Adam Arishon. Vehem zamimu lihizdaveg yachad. In other words, it was, why does it say is the shufra of Yaakov of Adam Rishon? Because it was the purpose, the intent that Yaakov Avinu would be the tikkun for the chet of Adam Rishon. Vehem and Esav and Yishmael zamimu, they plotted lihizdaveg yachad, to have a shidduch together, v'laholid mi beinehem tzuras Adam chadosha, and to give birth to a new form of man, shetilachem b'Yaakov, that would fight with Yaakov. Right? Ubekach bikshu lafriya lo ba'avodoso, and that's why they wanted to be mafriya the avoda, letakein es chet Adam Arishon. The avoda of Yaakov Avinu was to be metakein the chet, v'lachzir tzuras Adam lekomoto mekorit, and to bring things back to the way they should have been. Shayisov b'tchilas abriya. But they wanted to do is to. But what they wanted to do was to create a new bria, a new tzuras adam. And how were they going to do it? They were going to say that they bring their negative kochos. In other words, they're going to take the negative kochos, the koach of the gvura, the koach of the chesed, and bring them together, and through their joint efforts, create this destructive power that would be able to overpower and overcome the chet of Adam Rishon. Right? Okay, that was the purpose here. Okay, so that's okay. So now where does Yaakov Avinu come in? V'sod atzuras adam shel Yaakov hu biyoto ish tam yoshev ohalim. Right? What is Yaakov Avinu? Yaakov is ish tam yoshev ohalim. What does it mean? Hamechaber bein hachesed shel Avram im hapachad shel Yitzchak. Right? Right? That's right. He is the one who combines them. He's the one who connects the chesed and the pachad, right? The gevura, the pachad of Yitzchak. Okay. Umibli amizug b'Yaakov, and without this mixture, without this coming together, without joining together in the form of Yaakov Avinu, shtei hakochot halolu levad einam b'madrega shleima shel tzurat adam. We haven't reached the perfection. Avraham Avinu by himself hasn't reached the perfection, and Yitzchak Avinu by himself hasn't reached the shleimus of what a tzuras adam is supposed to be. Ki Avraham hu koach hitpashtut shel chesed v'emunah b'olam. Avraham is hitpashtut, right? Is going just an infinite amount of chesed and just overflowing, and that's not the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the world to be. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants limitations. V'hakoach hu hazem itpashet b'olam b'li gvul. This is it spreads, it expands without boundaries, and this is not the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants boundaries. Because there, the chesed will give life to everything, even things which shouldn't, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu isn't interested, should continue their lives. So things that have to be punished, things that have to be extinguished, certain things that the world can't exist if everything that exists is the recipient of the chesed of Avraham Avinu. Right, then the world will cease to exist because they'll be overrun by all kinds of forces, which some of them are negative and some of them have to be restrained. So therefore, if just we had all pure chesed, so then we wouldn't, then the world couldn't exist. Then that's not the shleimus of the world. Umitzad sheni, so they're very fundamental ideas. Some of them we've seen before, but they're very fundamental ideas. Avraham Avinu's koach of his pashtus, of spreading, of expansion, this is something which is necessary. It's a koach which has to be there. Right? And Avraham Avinu was megaleh, that koach. In other words, Avraham Avinu, through his life, through his efforts, right, through his life work, right, was megaleh the midas hachesed HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his world. He brought the midah of chesed into the world through, as a human being, implementing that side of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hanhaga. But there's only one side of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hanhaga. There's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is multifaceted, and if all we bring into the world is one side, so then there's going to be a problem. Umitzad sheni, but from the other side, kocho shel Yitzchak hu habitul klapei maila. Right? It's bittul. Right? Yitzchak is the opposite of expansion. It's absolute contraction. It's being mevatel himself. Yitzchak Avinu gave up his life on the Mizbech, at the Akedah. V'shibud kol mitziot elav yitbarach, and it's being mishabed, right? It's making servitude of all of the Metzias, of all of his existence, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? There's nothing that exists outside of the immediate relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'bechinat korban ola. Right? Yitzchak Avinu was an ola tamima. He was a sacrifice. It was a burnt offering. An ola, it gets completely burned on the mizbech. Nothing is left of it, right? It's just completely incinerated. And if you take this to the extreme, so then the world will cease to exist because everything will be bottle. Because when we think about the source of existence, the existence itself, so then everything really comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and his existence in relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, it doesn't have any real independent existence, right, because everything is just an expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanting it to exist, but it doesn't have any real existence, and everything seeks to return to its source and self-destruct. Okay, so we have the over-expansiveness and the the tzimtzum, or the bittul. What's the tikkun? Hiliyot kayam ba'olam kedei legalot b'toch Hashem Hashem. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants there to be life, to be existence, right, in order to reveal the Shem Hashem in the world. Okay. Yeah, that's a fundamental idea that we want to be in the world, but we want to be in the world in such a way which is completely bottled to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? And how can we do that? Ubad bivad. So, in the one sense, where we want to reveal HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world, so we want to be in the world. That's the midah of Avram Avinu, to be in the world and to spread the truth, to spread emunah, right, to all corners of the world. That's what we want. But at the same time, to recognize the mitzius of the Creator and to be completely bottled to His ratzon, to understand that our existence is completely dependent upon His ratzon, and our schut to exist, our schut kiyum, comes to the extent that we are mevatel ourselves to His ratzon, and that we have no other independent will and no other independent identity other than Avdei Hashem. That is our total identity, who we are. We are Avdei Hashem with no independent agendas, right? There's nothing that we want. There's nothing that we think, right? All we want is Ratzon Hashem, right? As is revealed to us through His Torah, through the teachings of Torah Shapell, Torah Hirshfeld, through our Rabbeim, right? But that's what we want. That we have that, and that means that we're mevatel everything to that. So we want a total bittul with total, right, being present in the world as real people, not just being mevatel ourselves and not existing. Okay? Those are the two poles, and that's how the tiferes of Yaakov. That's the expression of the tiferes of Yaakov. If you look in the footnote, right, and the Yud Gimel there, he brings from the Sefer Shari Ora, which I'm not. You don't know exactly who wrote it. You can look it up and tell me. Shar Sheni, right? Shari Yaakov. So this is a little bit of a Kabbalistic idea, but we'll try to just make sense of it and just according to our level. Kava emsai batavach. It's the middle line, right? Batavach in between. Vav shel Hashem Yitbarach. There's a hey and a vav and a hey. So the hey is one side is the right side is Avram, the left side is Yitzchak. The vav is the connector. Vav is always considered to be a connecting letter. Okay? The things, right? Vav, that's the vav means and, right? So just even in the translation, vav is connecting letter. So vav is connecting letter, and the Hebrew word vav is a hook that connects things. Right? That's what the vaveim of the Mishkan were the hooks, or things that connecting. Anyway, so vav is the connector. V'sod vav shel shem miucheret liYaakov, v'sod tiferet. Right. Okay, so I'm not sure what that means. Uba nechazot midos Avram v'Yitzchak. The midos of Avram and Yitzchak are held on with this vav, or the vav holds them both together. Avram liyamin. V'Yitzchak, and turn the page, was small. V'Yaakov kava emtzai. V'simen, and the simen of this is in the pasuk. V'Yaakov ishtam yoshev olim. V'sod ish tam. listen to what he says here, right? What does the word tam mean? What is the deeper meaning of the word tam? We think Yaakov is an ish tam, is an ish tamim, right? Rashi says he doesn't know how to cheat people, doesn't know how to, right? He's always above board. But on a deeper, more Kabbalistic level, the word tam, besod tiomet shel lulav. Look what he says. It's the spine of the lulav. Okay? That's what the word tam. The word tam is related to the word tiomet. Shehu sod kava emtzei shel lulav, because just like the tiomet is the right, the leaf that reaches the middle leaf which reaches to the top, that's the kava emtzei shel lulav. That's the middle line of the lulav. Okay, so that's what it means. Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim. These are the two tents. Ohel Avram, Ohel Yitzchak. Kihem Shnei Tzidei Lulav. Those are the two sides of the lulav, and the tiomet is what holds them all together. Ulefi, right? Shesod Yaakov hu kavim say hu sod vav. That's what Yaakov is. Anu omrim Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, ve'Elokei Yaakov. An extra vav. He says, when you pay, when we daven, so we think al pip shad because that they taught us that in English composition class that you put the and at the end of if you have a series of three things you say this, and this, right? But it's Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak. Those are two separate. Ve'Elokei Yaakov. The vav of the ve'Elokei combines it together. Vav nosefet b'Yaakov. Okay. V'chein hakel hagadol hagibor ve'hanora. Because in the Shemona Esrei, Gadol is Keneged Avram, right? Gadol is Gedula, that's L'cha Hashem Gedula, that's the Chesed. Gibor is Gevura, that's Keneged Yitzchak. Ve'hanora, that's Keneged Yaakov Avinu, because Yaakov Avinu said, Ma'nora makom hazeh, the meat of Yaakov is Nora. So that's so interesting thing that he ties these things together. The Vav is what Yaakov Avinu is all about. Okay, so let's see, go back to the text. Okay, so he says, below, again, this is the last words of the paragraph. We didn't finish that paragraph, I don't believe. Below lakachat latzmo davar, without taking anything for yourself. In other words, everybody, the agenda is not to self-aggrandizement, not for your own covet, not for your own gain, not for your own profit, not for your, not with any personal agenda. Person has to be a complete eved, without having anything else. Whatever you want to do has to be founded in your idea that this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from me. That if you want to become a Talmid Chacham, you have to say this: I'm becoming a Talmid Chacham because Hashem wants me to become a Talmid Chacham. And if I want to become a doctor, so I'm doing it because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to become a doctor. I believe Emunah Shlema, this is my tafkid in the life, and this is my shlichus is to do this, right? Because if this person that doesn't believe that, so then he's operating outside of avodas Hashem. And operating outside of avodas Hashem is a stira to the concept of the gevura that we have to be mitzamsim ourselves to the Ratzon Hashem. Jory, good question?
Well, it's just when we get into a personal level, rather than these ideas as paradigms, kind of, but like a personal level, if you want to be an ish chesed, right, a true ish chesed, you have to do bitul of yourself to the other person, who in a way is like a tzelem Elokim. It's like you're doing bitul. So to be a true ish chesed, it sounds like you have to be gevura. I mean, it's fuzzy, the whole thing. And
No, it's not fuzzy because you're right. First of all, you're right, right? But that's exactly the point, right? Exactly the point is that in order to do it right, you have to have the combination of the chesed and the gevura. Meaning, let's put it this way: not everybody who is very involved in chesed is an ish chesed without a personal agenda. Right? There are many people who do chesed because it makes them feel good. There are many people they get covered for it, or they get things right. And that's not the kind of chesed that is represented here by the paradigm of Avram Avinu, right? In other words, you need the gevura, right, also in order to be mevatel yourself, right, so that your ego doesn't take over, right, doesn't get in the way, right. And so therefore you got to, because of course you're going to do the chesed, but you also have to do the gevura in order to get it done right. And if you don't, because if you don't do it right, so then the whole exercise, instead of bringing you closer to Hashem, can bring you further can distance you from Hashem, because on the surface you're doing chesed, but on the inner level you're feeding your ego, right? So got to be careful, right? And that's
Well,
why
let
people.
me ask it the opposite way. So let's say you're an Ish Gvura, you're Bitul Hashem. How could you not do Chesed then?
Again, no, because you could not, because you could be because you could be so much mitzamsem yourself that you don't have any effect on other people. You just withdraw into your own cave, and that's and say, listen, let the world go, so go under. What do I care? I'm just going to be, just going to be mevatel myself. I make myself less and less and less and less until the point where I have nothing to offer the world, and I'm not interacting with the world. Right? There have been people like that as well, right? So you have to be able to to have that balance. Again, everybody's got to find his own personal balance. So there's going to be people who are going to be more in the cave and less out there, right? Because that's just the shorish and neshama is more in one direction than the other direction, but there's going to have to be some kind of a balance between them. Otherwise, otherwise it doesn't work. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. והבחינה זאת היא מעלת הדבקוס. He's translating this into dvekus. This mila of Yaakov Avinu is really dvekus. Really, you can connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She'aleh nemar on the midah of dvekus, it says, "V'atem advekim b'Hashem Elokeichem chaim kolchem hayom." Right? V'ofen, and explains what he means. She'Yaakov mevatel et atzmo v'dabuk legamre l'rtzono Hashem Baruch Hashem. Right? That's he's mevatel himself, and he's completely as dvekus to the Ratzon Hashem. Achim kol zeh, but with all of this, nimtza betoch hamizgeret shel olam. He's in the framework of the world. He lives in the world. U'megaleh sham shefa shel chayim, and in the world he brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu's shefa of chayim into the world from above. V'hu hatzuras adam ba'olam shenikra Klal Yisrael. This is what Klal Yisrael is. Ad shekolat hishpashtut shel Klal Yisrael ba'olam hu besod u'shmeinu karasa b'shmecha. Right? Our name you called with your name. We're totally identified with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have no separate name. Right? There's nothing that says, "Oh, Am Yisrael is a nation of this or of that." Am Yisrael has no other title other than a nation of Shem Hashem. That's Shmeinu. That's our name. That's Yisrael. Yisrael has the Shem Hashem in it, and that's our name. So we're not a nation of Einsteins. We're not a nation of high tech. We're not a nation of doctors. We're not, right? All of these things we do, right? But that's not who we are. That's not our nationality. Our nationality is Shmeinu Nikra B'Shmecha. Every single Jew has to be stamped with the Shem Hashem. Right? It's got to have a stamp of Shem Hashem on his forehead. Right? I'm part of Hashem's world. Ad shekol ha'itpashtut shel Klal Yisrael ba'olam u'zem shalazem k'mo shisa b'Chazal shekoru leYaakov Kel. The Chazal darshan in the pasuk, right, that he called him Kel, as he quotes in the Gemara in the footnote on Yudalit, right? You look at the footnote of the Gemara in Megillah. V'amar Rabbi Amar Rabbi Lazar minan shekara HaKadosh Baruch Hu leYaakov Kel shenemar vayikra lo Kel Elokei Yisrael. Okay, so the Gemara Darshans, we're not going into the drasha, but it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the title Kel. V'amar lo, and the Medrash says that this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Yaakov: Ani Eloha be'elyonim, v'ato Eloha be'tachtonim. I am the Allah and Elyonim, and you're the God of the Tachtonim. Right? Meaning that's the concept of the Tzelem Elokim, that mankind was given the Tzelem Elokim, Adam Rishon was given the Tzelem Elokim, and as Reb Chaim Volozhin tells us that the whole Bria is conducted by human beings, as we have the koach of bringing the world to life, or we have the koach to bring the world to death. right, through our actions and through our might, through our dibur, through all the things that we do, and therefore we are godly in that sense. We're godly in the sense that we have control. We have the control and mastery over the world is given to human beings. It's if we can make things very, very good, or chas v'sholom can make things very, very bad. And if the world looks very, very bad, we should know it's because somebody's not doing their job right. Yaakov has both of the extremes, both ends. Avram Yitzchak. Bechinas habechir shebaavos. And that's why Yaakov Avinu is called the Bechir, the choice of the Avos, based on the Medrash. So if where we live the way that we're supposed to live, according to the Tiferet of Yaakov Avinu, right, then the Metzius, our existence is the existence of God in this world. And that's the way we should be looking at ourselves. Right? We should be looking at ourselves as being each and every one individual. Obviously, we're talking on a national level. It's supposed to be that the whole nation. But each and every one of us as an individual has to look at himself and say that my existence is the existence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. Right? I'm going to, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it says, Asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham. It says betocho lo ne'amar. It doesn't say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in it. Betocham, he's in them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in each and every one of us. And that we have to remember that each and every one of us has the koach to be a home for the Shekhinah, right? A mishkan for the Shekhinah. That's what we have, and that's what, and we do that by taking the midos of the avos, right? Taking the chesed, the gevura, the combination which we inherited from Yaakov Avinu, and bringing that into the world. That's the tzuras ha'adam ha'amitit. This is what a human being is supposed to look like. Now, now let's get back to our story here about Esav and Yishmael. Milchama bitul Shem Yisrael. This is what they're fighting. This is their war. They're waging war against us. So mevatel this concept called Yisrael. This is the constant purpose, constant agenda of these two nations, Edom and Yishmael. Levatel et metziut Yisrael min ha'olam. They just want to be mevatel the existence of Yisrael. Mitzad shehi tzurat adam amitit, because that's the true tzurat adam mechaberet u'mazeket al kochot yachad, which brings everything together. Okay? There is, if we have any thought, why is there anti-Semitism? There's only one reason. Right? The reason is because we represent a certain value, a certain existence, a certain type of human being, and they were shut out of that existence, right? Because Baruch Hu offered them the Torah, but they weren't so interested. And after the fact, they're looking at us and they want to destroy us. They want to destroy that Tzuras Adam and replace us with another Tzuras Adam. They want to create a monster. This is what they're not only do they want to destroy us, they want to replace us with because the world needs a Tzuras Adam Amiti. The world needs some kind of a model. What is the person supposed to look like? What is the person supposed to embody? The world needs that, right? What's your ideal? Right? So they're trying to replace our ideal with a different ideal. And even though they would really want to, if they really had their way, was to make peace between them. That was the whole point of that zivug, of that shidduch between Esav and Yishmael, was to create a different type of tzuras adam. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu meniach lahem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't allow it. V'le'olam ein beinehem chibur, and that's why they're always at each other's throats. There will never be HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the nace that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the world, that they does not allow them to join together. Elokol kochot nisharim kochot pratiyim shelo mitchabrim l'tzurat adam. The different kochos of evil, they remain individual prati kochot, but they never form together, which includes to join them all together. Ubisod, as the pasuk says in Tilim Tzadik Beis, Mizvah Shuliyam HaShabbos, Yitpardu Kol Palei Oven. Right? Evildoers are always separate. Yitpardu. There's no chibur amiti between people who are doing evil. As it says kesher, Gemara says kesher rishoyim eino min aminyan. Right, a bond between rishoyim doesn't count, right? Because rishoyim can never bond together because each one has his own agenda. Only tzaddikim can bond together. The tzaddikim don't have personal agendas. They're trying to further the causes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? The ideal. So therefore, together, there can be a chaverut. That's what the Gemara says. The Rambam says that the word chaver, right, is the tzaddikim are called chaverim. Why? Because the only true friendship is among people who are tzaddikim, because they're not in there for their own personal gain. Right? So therefore, they can join together in an effort to bring kavod shavayim. But if if you have two people who are interested in their own personal welfare and their own personal gain, so each one, the kesher is only going to be one of convenience and very, very short-lived. And as we see, all the alliances that are based on selfish interests are, at the end, they don't last very long at all. Right? It's yitpardu kol polyoven. They all be separate. And that's why, right, if we want to understand why they're always fighting with each other, right? Bisod milchamat hataninim, shekivan shesireset hazachar v'hanekeva. How did HaKadosh Baruch Hu accomplish this? Right? That they should always be fighting with each other, at each other's throats, rather than being able to get together and, right? Because he says, what did he do? He castrated the male and he killed the female. Ein sholem b'neim, right? Right? So they can't get together. Each one wants to put himself in the center of creation, and that's why they're always fighting, right, for dominance of the world. And even though they're always fighting with each other, right, but their ultimate goal is to attack and destroy Klal Yisrael. Right? They're only fighting with each other because they can't get along and accomplishing their joint goal. Right? And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed the division between them as a protection for us and as a nace that they wouldn't be able to do it. But their ultimate goal, right, they're deep down what they both want. They don't want to get each other. They want to get Klal Yisrael. Their wars are always going to have something to do with the Jewish people. Again, the Elef Chamishi, the fifth millennium, was the one that ended in the year 1240. Right? Because the year 5000 was the year 1240. Okay? And so we're now 5786, which is 786 years in the year 2026. So the fifth millennium was ended in, right? So the Meshech Elef Chamishi means the fifth millennium, which ended in the year 1240. Me'az shekama navi ha'meshuga shelahem, from the time that they're the Prophet Muhammad, the Meshuga, right? And as he points out here in the footnote, Kach Korei HaRambam Beger Teman LaNavi Muhammad, right? So this appellation of of Muhammad as being a Meshuga is something which did not originate with Moshe Shapiro, it originated with the Rambam. Right? That was his language. He became the head of the Muslims. They're always fighting. First of all, they're always fighting with each other, but they fought with the Christians. They started fighting with Bnei Esav. We have the Crusades, right? Which is really the fight between the two worlds, between the Christians and the Muslims. Shaya B'sofa Elef Chamishi, which was at the end of this, right? So when you look at the footnote, which was in 1179, which is close to 1240, right? V'chein Kibush Byzantine, Shavra Azmi Mishalat Rami Libnei Yishmael, right? The whole division of the Roman Empire between the East and the West, and the Eastern Roman Empire was conquered by Muslims, right? The Byzantium, the Turks, right? That was also happened. Zachor Lish Gam Shaya Be'erch Botozman. Moshe obviously didn't look it up in the history books, but it was Be'erch at that time, and the footnote says 1453. Right? That was the year that the Romans lost the Byzantine Empire to the Muslims. Okay. And both of them, right, crossed over continents and rivers in order to fight about Yerushalayim. Right? What are they looking for in Yerushalayim? So small. Everybody puts their nails into that. Ishmael takasham shikutz shomei barabayit. Ishmael put the mosque, right? Ve'esav gam nilcham aleh. And Esav is also fighting for it. Kama v'kama pamim. Ve'akol be'ikar, right? Biglau she'ikar ha'milchama shem hi b'tzurat adam she'b'Yisrael. Their milchama is right against the tzuras ha'adam that's in the Jewish people. Right? And that's why they're fighting, and to this very day, right? As we all know, right? How much, what percentage of the news and in the world's newspapers is about Israel, right? It's much bigger than our numbers deserve, and because that's what interests everybody, that's because it's not stam, the Jewish people is the focal point of the world, and Eretz Yisrael is the focal point of the world, right? Because this is where the emes is. This is where the truth is. This is where the Jew is. The Jew is. Right? Ella shekivan shesires et hazachar v'agat nekeva einem yicholim lasot shalom b'neihem v'tachat zeim nilchamim ze b'zeh. So that's a big sod, right? So right, you see the hashgacha pratis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, directed history in such a way that the two arch enemies of Am Yisrael would not be able to make peace between them, and therefore we can have some kind of hope of surviving the Golus until the Mashiach comes. Yeah, Jory?
I was just going to say, I mean, we've learned earlier that in the time of the Mashiach, perhaps, that they will come together.
Right. Okay, but that's okay. But then they will be subservient to the Melech HaMashiach, right? And then they're also going to accept the overarching truth of Hashem Echad, Shmo Echad. But until that day, we have our battles to fight. Okay. Al kol panim, ze bira Gemara l'das hagra. Beautiful pshat in the Gemara, I believe, according to the opinion of the Gemara. Sheyesh shnei sugei milchamot. Okay, so now we're coming back to the fact that there were two wars, right? There's the milchamot taninim, heim Esav v'Yishmael, shenilchamim b'Yisrael, ve'heim mibnei Shem. Right, and both of them are descendants of Shem, right? The descendants of Avram, actually. V'heim nilchamim v'Yakov al Yerushat Avraham v'Yitzchak. So there is one battle between us and our cousins. Right? And who will be Zocha? Who will merit the Yerusha of Avram and Yitzchak? That's they want it. They have claims. The one's Avram, one's Yitzchak, and as we saw right in the earlier shurim, right, that Yishmael has a stronger claim. Yishmael has a claim. They have a bris milah, right? Yishmael, is more right at the at the end of the day. Esau was more cast out of the family than Yishmael was. As Chazal tell us, Yishmael did tshuva at the end of his life, and Esau didn't do tshuva at the end of his life. So in terms of our kirva to our cousins, we're closer to the Esavs than to the Yishmael and the Esav. But anyway, that's one kind of battle, right? Over the Yerusha of Avram Yisrael. Umeidach milchem is Gog u'Magog. Then there's a totally different war, which we discussed as the earlier war. Shezeh mibnei Yefet. Gog and Magog are not part of the family. Gog and Magog are totally alien to the Jewish people. They're from the family of Yefet. Shetachlitam hilachem be'etzam achidu shel Avram Avinu. L'chmo shebi'arnu le'el. Shem ha'ribui mul ha'achdus. Remember, we talked about this right, a couple of weeks ago, that there is the ribui and the achdus. Right? The achdus is that Avram Avinu stood for uniting everything together, and the koach of Gog and Magog was to right? To say that no, that there's avodah zarah, that there is riboy, right? Not to put everything under one umbrella. These are the two. These are the two things. Ubazeh kol ha'umot mitchabrot yachad im ha'yavonim. Right? In this battle, so all the goyim join the Yavanim. The Yavanim are also bibnei Yefet, right? So they're the paradigm of the people of Yefet. If Edom is still as Esav, so but Yavan is the koach of Ribui. B'bechinat Yavanim nikbetzu alai, as we say in Chanukah. Ubesod lama ragshu goyim ulu'umim yagorik. Till in Perikabes, right? The goyim are all rugshu, they're all excited and stormed up. Ulu'umim yagorik, and the nations speak rik, empty words. Yisyatzvu malchei eretz, right? The kings of the world stand. V'roznim nostu yachad, and the leaders and the noblemen of the form together. Al Hashem al Mashiach, against Hashem and against Mashiach. Riboy ha'otzim shel kol umos yachad. This tremendous riboy. Right? You go look in the United Nations. Right? How many nations are on our side? Right? Not too many. Right? Okay. Riboy ha'otzim shel kol umos yachad. Hanilchamot b'melech haMashiach sheba legalot et ha'achdus. This is the milchama against the Mashiach who comes to reveal achdus b'sod. So we have the Muhammad of Ribui against Echad, Avodah Zarah against Achdus Hashem, and then within the family, within the Bnei Shem, that's what we're discussing today. We have a Muhammad about what is the proper Tzuras Adam. Okay, so you want to know what a human being is supposed to look like, what Adam Rishon looked like, what Yaakov Avinu looked like, and what we are, the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, of Yaakov, what we're supposed to look like. That's the midah of emes, the midah of tiferes, the midah of combination of chesed and gevura, totally committed, right, to the avdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As it says, the Chassidus should say, "Ve'anshe kodesh tiyuli." Right? You should be people of kodesh. Baruch Hu doesn't want us to be malachim, right? He doesn't want us to be malachei kodesh. He wants to be anshe kodesh. We have to be people, but also kodesh, right? And being able to embrace those two ideals and those two extremes, and take the extreme that we have of the neshama, the chelik elokamimal, the godly that we have, the divine spark that we have, and the physical body that we have, which pulls us in other directions, and to be able to combine them into one whole, holistic. Unity of Avodas Hashem. That's the goal of every Jew, and that's what we're fighting. That's what they're fighting against. And so we have to hold on strong. Right? We have to learn. We have to daven. We have to do what we have to do. The chesed that we have to do, and Hashem. If we do what we have to do, we will be zocha. Okay, next week. Okay, we're going to skip the next section. I'm just giving you a heads up. Right. Next section is interesting, but it's a little. Very, very, let's use the word esoteric. It's about there's a couple of lines of the Gemara about the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, the 36 Tzadikim. So we're not going to, I went through it and I see that's not for us, right? So we're going to skip that. But we're going to start on page Reish Hey, right? Kalu Kol Akitzim, Mitzvah Hashem, which has the very, very important piece of Gemara about whether tshuva is a necessary condition for the geula or not. So when we look all around us and we see how we're going to get geula, if we, it seems that Am Yisrael is far from tshuva. So stay tuned and we will see how that's going to happen. Big machlokas between Tanoim and Amoraim, what the role of tshuva is in the geula. Okay, that's Amir Hashem. We'll be starting next week. Okay, Seder, everybody. Thank you for joining. Everybody should be well, and
Thank you all.
Thank you. Peace in Am Yisrael, peace among Am Yisrael, between ourselves, and peace with. There shouldn't be any more Muhammads today. There was another terrible pigua, and a person got killed, a couple of people got killed, or one got killed, and several were seriously injured. So a couple of soldiers are killed, and every day soldiers are falling in Lebanon. And we need a lot of Rahmanis to be able to persevere and endure the tsaros that Am Yisrael is going through. Bezrat Hashem will be zocha to a Geula Shlema. Okay, call to everybody. Be well.
Thank you.